What do you think of me? It's kind of a hard question since none of you know me really or know really anything about me. So let me help you out. My name is Wilson. I grew up in Claremont, California, about 35 minutes away from here. I loved playing sports growing up, and my favorite was basketball. I played a lot of basketball, and I idolized Shaq and Kobe. In the mornings before school, my parents forced my brother and me to wake up much earlier than we'd like, I might add, to practice golf and piano and tennis and all the activities that were supposed to lead to my success. In high school, I was probably what you'd consider a jock. I got really into swimming and water polo. I was loud, I was boisterous, I partied, I got into trouble way too often, and I did all the things that I thought cool high school students were supposed to do. College, it was an even more formative period for me. I got a nice girlfriend. I learned the do's and the don'ts of a relationship. Guys, forgetting to pick her up at the airport, that's a don't. I did a little studying too, because I know we're in a college and we're supposed to study a little bit. I studied psychology and business. I was a 4-year collegiate athlete. I worked part-time, and then I decided to stay an extra year to get my master's. Now I work for a tech company like all young millennials, and it's been a pretty great experience too. So now, what do you think of me? Still thinking? Could I have some volunteers? Volunteers? How about you two? Seem very energetic. All right. And what are your names? You can sit up here.
Kelly.
Kelly and
Colby.
Colby? Okay. Kelly and Colby, I was wondering if you could do me a favor.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
You're okay? Would you mind holding my leg?
What do you mean?
See, I have a prosthetic leg, and it's actually just been bothering me. And so I was hoping that you could hold it. You know, I kind of have to give a TED talk here. And so I was hoping that you could just, if I can get this, I was hoping you could just hold it for a little bit, and then I'll just, get it back from you after the show, if that's okay. Is that
Sure,
fine?
Sure.
Yeah? Have you ever held a leg before?
Can't say I have.
You can't say you have?
No.
Okay, it's kind of a one-time experience. You got to start somewhere. So here, just, both take care of that and sit down right there. All right. Thank you. So now what do you think of me? There's this concept in the disability studies world, and it's called the disability mindset. And it's the notion that the person with the disability focuses entirely on that disability. Now, you can envision the problems that could be associated with this type of thinking. So today, the concept that I would like to promote is contradictory to that disability mindset, while still using the term itself. As a word, disability is inherently negative. You sympathize with a disability, you don't idolize it. It's not used as a term of empowerment. And today, I'd like to start the discussion to change that. So the idea that I would like to promote is what I call the disability spirit. And the disability spirit is simple. It can be practiced by anyone. And it's the notion that you focus entirely on your capabilities rather than on your disability. And the way that you can do this is by practicing 3 very simple steps. 1, accept yourself. 2, embrace your gifts. And 3, ask for help. Now, I realize these concepts are not novel or extraordinary, and I don't pretend to be a thought leader in any arena, because the disability spirit is not some grand phenomena. It's not about pushing past your limits or soaring to the highest heights. The disability spirit is human. It's about the day in, day out grind that accompanies just being human. Because we all have areas of improvement. We all have challenges. And we all have disabilities. Now, some of you may prickle when you hear that and push back and say, whoa, whoa, Wilson, you have a disability, but I don't. And I can understand why you might push back on that. But then why does society classify me and others? And then through that classification indicate what we can and cannot do. I am not relegated to a word. Growing up, I lost my leg when I was very early on in life, and I learned fairly quickly that the largest constraints that would be associated with my leg would come from external sources. I could handle the visible challenges, the late nights alone in the hospital, the pain, the rehabilitation sessions, the anxiety. It's equally unbearable and entirely inescapable. And I don't want to diminish the gravity of these types of challenges, but my experience has been with a positive mindset and will, you can overcome. But the one barrier that at this moment seems almost insurmountable is the one that's been placed upon us by society. And this is where acceptance, the first part in that disability spirit, comes into play. I was in a unique spot with this label as I had an effective way of masking it, just wearing pants. Interestingly, when I wear pants, the way in which people treat me and interact with me changes dramatically. I am not different when my disability is not visible. And so I learned fairly early on that regardless of what I did or how hard I tried, I was always going to have that different label. So I made a pact with myself that I was going to fight that. And I was going to force everyone around me to accept me. My ingenious plan for doing that was wearing shorts. And I wore shorts everywhere. I wore shorts in the rain, in the cold, in the mornings, in the evenings. I wore shorts when it was totally inappropriate to wear shorts. I think you get the idea. I wore shorts a lot. And this defiance peaked until right about junior high school, when we all start to question ourselves. Was I fat? Was I ugly? Would girls like me? Was I a freak? These questions engulfed my mind. And it became apparent that regardless of how hard I tried to force everyone else to accept me, it was never going to work until I had started accepting myself. And the way that I had to learn to accept myself was to be okay with being weak. I am not as strong physically on one leg. My prosthetic is my security blanket. And without it, I feel vulnerable. And I'm here in front of you all feeling vulnerable and a little terrified. And that's okay. It's okay to show your weakness. It's okay to need others. Now, don't get me wrong. This acceptance, it's not a defeatist attitude. Rather, I think that when you're able to accept yourself and you're able to rationalize because you know that everyone has their own weakness, their own challenge that they're going through, I think that mindset, that spirit, allows you to see your own unique gifts. And this brings me to step 2 of the disability spirit: embrace your gifts. I was in a unique spot, especially in water polo. I found that this embracing your gifts thought process really rang true. For those that are unfamiliar with the sport, it's where you're treading constantly for the entirety of the game without the ability to touch the bottom of the pool. Now, this in of itself is quite hard, and it becomes a whole lot harder when you've got 6 other players who are effectively trying to drown you the whole game. It becomes a whole lot harder when you're doing all of that treading just on one leg. So very early on in my water polo career, I learned that treading probably wasn't going to be my strongest skill set. So I learned and I adapted, and I found I had my own unique skill set, my own unique gift. I have what I call a nub at the end of my leg. And while this nub isn't very good for treading, it's really adept at kicking other players right in the gut and other sensitive regions. But, you know, what happens under the water stays under the water, so we're good. This was my own unique gift. It took time for me to recognize it, but it was a skill set that no one else in the water had. And I think step 2 in this disability spirit is truly about not only recognizing your gifts, but embracing them and being okay with it. Because at some point, it's almost difficult to start viewing your disability less as a curse and more as a gift. And that's what step 2 is about. Viewing them as gifts. Step 3 of the disability spirit, ask for help. I'm going to be honest, this is one that I still struggle with immensely to this day. As a disabled child, I think in some respects we're almost taught to push past our fears, push past pain, be that individual that can overcome all the obstacles, and it's all by yourself. This isn't reality. And as I've been able to reflect in writing this speech, I realized a lot of that fighting to push past my barriers, fighting to be viewed as a legitimate player in the athletic community, all of that was mainly fighting just with myself. And I don't care how long you wage that battle, you're going to lose it. Sometimes it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to know that you need others to accomplish something, because we all need others to accomplish things in life. It's never going to be a one-man show. So as I conclude this talk, I'd like to leave you all with a very, very simple message. And wait. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm forgetting something. And I can't seem to put my foot on it. Oh, I know. Colby, Kelly, could you come up? Yeah, take good care of it. Yeah. Okay. How was that?
It's a good time.
It was a good time? Yeah? You want to keep it?
That's okay.
No, you actually can't keep it because I need that for this. So thank you. All right. I'm just going to be pulling your legs for a little bit. That's okay. Enough leg jokes. I got it out of my system. I hope that what I've shared with you all today was meaningful in some capacity. At the very least, I hope that you go home and think a little bit differently about the term disability and that it carries a little bit less weight. Because I truly believe that we can all practice this disability spirit. It's just up to us to recognize that. I hope that you share this message. I hope that this message extends at some point to a little kid who may be disabled or an amputee themselves. And it gives them a little bit of hope. Because if there's one thing that I could do in my life is I would go back in time and I would talk to little Wilson. And I'd get down and I'd look at him and I'd say, you can overcome this struggle. All you need to do is practice this disability spirit. Just follow 3 very simple steps. Accept yourself, embrace your gifts, and ask for help. Because, hey, you never know when you might be giving a TED Talk and you need a few people to hold your leg while you do it. Thank you.